Hello, everyone. This is Lenard Guzman here with Emily Robinson on the Modern Divorce Podcast. It's March 22nd, 2022. We got a lot of twos today. So what's going on? It's like spring break. Are the children just driving the parents crazy this week?
Is it spring break? My kids don't have it for like months. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm sure they are.
Yeah, I think it depends on the district here. I know my neighbor's a teacher and she's off, so the teachers are fine.
Yeah, it's nice for the teachers, although then they're just home with their own kids. So it's probably the same for them. But
Okay.
I'm looking forward to spring break, but also, yes, it will be challenging trying to work with the kids home.
So as far as like child custody, so like let's say you want to go take the kids on vacation, right? Once that is like, hey, so that's negotiated, I assume, or they take turns every year. How do those talks work?
Yeah, I mean that's a constant issue that we have, and unless one parent is restricted on their custody time for some reason, um, usually it's mutual. So if one parent gets a 7 day vacation, the other parent gets a 7 day vacation, and like spring break and stuff like that, either you split it in half or you alternate it, depending on the alternate each year, depending on what the parents prefer. But every family prefers something different, so you sort of, see what they prefer and try to go with that.
Yeah, there's like with the COVID restrictions, I think some things are opening up more like internationally. I know domestically, I've seen a lot of people take like RVs. Like I know a friend of mine went from like the West Coast all the way, probably almost to the East Coast. So it's exciting to see things open up, and
It is.
we'll see what happens here in the
It
near
is
future.
exciting. Yeah.
All right, let's get into the part of the show where we go over the divorce news, see what's trending on Google. A lot of times, celebrities dominate the headlines because they just like the attention. We have child custody issues. We have financial things. So let's see what comes up. Okay. So this is a '90s reference, right? So like, I don't think anyone who was like born in like the 2000s knows who this is, but I do. So I don't know if you remember like the show Blossom and Joey Lawrence. Well, his brother's in the news.
I was in love with Joey Lawrence, like every other girl my age.
Oh,
I got to
yeah,
meet him
yeah.
once. It was
You got to
like
meet him.
the
Yeah.
highlight of my life at the time.
Yeah, he was like on one or two shows, but so it's not Joey's getting divorced; it's his brother. Uh, his brother's name. Do you know his brother's name?
I don't remember. I used to know though. What is it?
Matt Lawrence, Mathew Lawrence. Okay.
That's right. I totally spaced. I did used to know that though.
So in case you were wondering, he married Dancing with the Stars, with Cheryl Burke. So they're getting divorced.
Oh.
According to People, they cited she cited irreconcilable differences as the legal reason for their divorce and declared January 7th, 2022 as the official date of separation. In the documents, Burke revealed that both parties entered a prenuptial agreement before their marriage and asked the court's right to award spousal support be terminated. So Burke and Mathew walked the aisle in 2019 after dating for a couple of years. So let's scroll down here. So according to a new report by People magazine, Lawrence wants to move on with the divorce. On Friday, the Brotherly Love Star submitted a response to Burke's filing listing irreconcilable difference as a cause of their split. He also requested the court's right to award spousal support to either party be terminated. It seems that Lawrence and Burke are very cordial and are looking to put it all behind them. So the irreconcilable difference, yeah, it's been a lot of vowels, not vowels, a lot of syllables. Is that the default kind of reason? Because like it's kind of vague and I hear it. I mean, everyone hears it. Is that kind of the default reason? Because it covers probably a broad amount of reasons.
Yeah, because California is a no-fault divorce state, we don't have fault-based divorce. So it's almost always irreconcilable differences. There's a few limited situations where it could be fraud or some other thing, but for the most part, like it's almost always going to be irreconcilable differences is the reason for the divorce. So, that makes sense. They check that. And all these are public records. So there are people that actually troll the public records trying to see what celebrities filed now.
And then they're terminating spouse support, I guess, on both sides, right? So if they're like just they probably don't make that much as like compared to like Angelina and Brad Pitt, I assume, because they don't, both parties don't want any part of it. Is that what we're assuming here?
Yeah, I mean, spousal support is meant to help the lower earner to keep their standard of living. If both people are making money, and don't feel like they need spousal support from the other person, then they can waive it. And it's based on the level that you're at. I mean, Brad and Angelina's spousal support, that level, it can be like $1 million a month, but there's people making minimum wage that have to pay their spouse $50 a month. So it's just very dependent on what your check is.
All right, this is an interesting topic. This next one, it's by the New York Post.com. So there's a ruling that could stop wealthy New York couples from shopping for divorce. Court judges. So a new legal ruling will likely stop wealthy New Yorkers from trying to duke out their high-stakes divorces in counties where their vacation homes are located in a bid to beat their spouses. Legal experts told the Post well-heeled clients often file for divorce in smaller jurisdictions such as Suffolk County in hopes of winning rulings from historically conservative judges who are seen as more likely to side with a richer partner, according to attorney Peter Bronstein, who recently won a case that could put the kibosh on the practice. Judges there tend to favor the bigger breadwinner because they usually have less experience with high net worth cases, along with large spousal and child support awards, according to Bronstein and other matrimonial lawyers. The so-called divorce court forum shopping is also used to shock inconvenience the poorer partner by forcing them to trek away areas for the legal battle. So what they're technically doing, because I guess they have multiple houses, they can opt for that county, I assume. And then this whole thing with the judges, because like they were saying, is that something that so this really happens?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. People forum shop all the time. So, the thing is, you have to file in a place that you have connections to, and typically you have to live there. So, you can't necessarily be successful at forum shopping, but people will even consider like moving to another jurisdiction for like 3 months so that they become a resident of that county, and then they can file there instead. On a smaller scale, people will forum shop with courthouses and counties. So, like, let's say you live in LA County, but your spouse lives in Ventura County and you're separated, you might choose which county to file on based on which one you think will be more favorable to you. Or you might choose which courthouse to file in based on what judges you think might be more favorable. If there's a choice, it's very zip code dependent. So, but yes, this does happen a lot. And then sometimes people move and then they want to transfer a case because they think the forum they move to is going to be more advantageous.
Okay, this is interesting. So there's a podcast here, Chick to Chick. So these they're adults now. They're children of divorce. So they discuss things, and they still. So Flora Postero and Carrie Perry talk about several issues, including how many struggle with their parents' divorce even in adulthood. They also recommend a good book to help those who are still having difficulty coming to terms with divorce in their family. So this is a common thing I've heard where adults, there's something, I read some psychologist article where even as adults, like the time from like when you're 8, is it 6 to 8, or like somewhere like 6 to 10, we kind of like develop like our foundations of who we are. And if your parents, I think, get divorced in that window, it kind of, I guess it haunts you for your whole life, and these insecurities come up even if you're like a 50-year-old man. Is that something you see that's common?
No, it is, but what I find is a lot of it is just really about how the parents handled the divorce. So if the parents put the kids through a horrible, traumatic episode where everybody's fighting and hates each other and is nasty, absolutely, that will probably haunt you for the rest of your life and affect all of your relationships, no matter what age you are, but especially in that, young age window. Um, if your parents handle it well, like grown-ups and mature people, and don't put the kids in the middle and are good at staying friends and doing what's right by the kids, then kids even in that age range do fine, and they can be very well adjusted and go on to have really healthy relationships. So it's really all about, the research shows, how the parents handle it.
Okay, let's get into the part of the show where we ask Emily anything. It's the part of the podcast where people post things, and Emily will give advice on whether you're starting your divorce journey, whether you have trouble with child custody. So this one is, the topic is infidelity and kids. So how do you distance yourself from your ex when your kids, when you have kids together? So I feel like every time I see him, I'm reminded of the hurt. I think going for an extended time without seeing him would help me get over the hurt. Is it possible to maintain distance when there are children involved?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. It is like, if you are, having to do custody exchanges and things like that, you don't have to be the one to do it. You can have a friend do it or a babysitter do it so that you don't have to see the person. Um, if the children are old enough, you don't even have to like get out of the car at the exchanges. The kids can just go from one car to the other. There's a lot of ways to really minimize the contact. Yes, you'll probably have to discuss the kids at some point on email, but it should be very limited. I mean, your time is your time, their time is their time. It should just be very limited to important things you need to discuss. So yes, there's absolutely ways to limit it.
Okay, the next post is a getting started one. So this person's spending their first wedding anniversary alone. So they've been married 6 years, 17 years together. I'm really proud of myself for not breaking down today, but this marriage has been falling apart for close to 2 years. I'm feeling almost a sense of relief to not having to celebrate something broken. But I'm still numb with the whole thing. Any advice on how to get over
I mean, my best advice is always that you got to talk to someone. Like, don't keep it inside. Don't hold it in. Don't try to be the hero and do everything yourself. It's just too hard. It's a very emotional thing. It's too much for one person to handle on their own. Talk to a therapist, talk to a friend, talk to a coach. Find somebody in your life that you can comfortably vent to and share your pain. And don't do too many Google searches, because you will always find, you know, the most negative, worst information. I mean, you can find many amazing things online, but you also can find some of the worst things that just make everything worse.
All right, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us on the Modern Divorce Podcast, and we'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.